Good afternoon, folks. This afternoon's topic is mental health reform. Okay, so we're going to go through the presentation I made for you today. So sit back and enjoy, please. I don't know the sound of a locked door. I didn't know the sound of a locked door could stay in your body, but it does. I still hear it every time I think about the day I left my daughter at the psychiatric hospital. I told myself it was the right thing. I told myself she would be safe. I told myself the people inside knew how to help her better than I could. I believed of that. I believed all of that until the night she called me crying. She whispered into the phone, "Mom, please come get me." Her voice was thin, like she was trying not to be heard. A staff member stood nearby. I could hear him breathing. I drove to the hospital immediately. When I arrived, they told me she wasn't allowed to see me. They said she was adjusting. They said she needed structure. They said I should trust them. But I trust. But trust is not a treatment plan, it is a risk. The first sign something was wrong, my daughter told me later that there were only two staff members on the unit at night, 20 children, two adults. One of them spent most of the shift behind a desk. The other tried to watch the hallways, but there were too many blind corners, too many rooms, too many kids. She said, "Mom, nobody could see anything." That sentence alone is a policy failure. It is why we need minimum staffing ratios, especially at night. This is why it's why children should never be placed in rooms with blind corners. It is why supervision must be real, not theoretical. The second sign, silence. My daughter stopped calling when I asked staff why they said she was busy. When I asked to visit, they said she was not available. When I asked for documentation, they said it was confidential. Silence is not therapeutic. Silence is a warning. This is why we need independent patient advocates, guaranteed visitation rights, and public reporting of incidents. Families should never have to guess whether their child is safe. The night everything changed, she told me what happened only after she came home. A staff member restrained her because she refused medication. She said he pushed her face down on the floor. She said she couldn't breathe. She said she thought she was going to die. No supervisor reviewed the incident. No one called me. No one documented the restraint properly. This is why we need bans on prone restraints, real time oversight, and mandatory family notification. A child should never fear for her life in a place meant to protect it. The room she feared. Her roommate was older, stronger, and unpredictable. Staff knew this. They kept them together anyway because the unit was full. The room had no camera coverage. The hallway outside had blind spots. She said, "Mom, I didn't sleep. I just waited." This is why we need safe architectural design, single occupancy rooms for children, and surveillance in hallways and common areas. Safety is not optional, it is structural. The moment she tried to tell someone, she told a nurse she felt unsafe. The nurse hesitated. She didn't want to get in trouble. She didn't want to be labeled difficult. She didn't want to lose her job. Fear is not a workplace culture. It is a symptom of institutional failure. This is why we need whistleblower protections, anonymous reporting channels, and external investigators with subpoena power. Staff should never have to choose between their job and a child's safety. The day I learned the truth, another parent told me what was happening on the unit, not the hospital. Not the administrators, not the regulators, another parents. That is why we need unannounced inspections, safety linked reimbursement, and leadership accountability. Transparency should not depend on luck or gossip. It should be built into the system. What I carry now, I carry the knowledge that my daughter survived something she never should have experienced. I carry the guilt of, of believing the promises the hospital made. I carry the anger of knowing the system failed her long before she walked through the doors. But I also carry something else, resolve. Resolve to make sure no other patient, other parent hears a locked door echo in their memory. Resolve to make sure no other child whispers for help into a phone no one lets them answer. Resolve to make sure safety is not a hope, it is a guarantee. The reforms this story demands: staffing standards, independent patient advocates, guaranteed visitation and communication. Ban on phone, ban on prone restraints, real time oversight of restraint and seclusion, safety, architectural design, and surveillance, whistleblower protections, unannounced inspections, and safety link reimbursement, transparent public reporting. Okay. Guys, here's the second half of the presentation. This title is family facing testimony on institutional abuse and the reforms families deserve. My name is Felicia, and I'm here today as a geriatric specialist who trusted a psychiatric hospital with my relative. With my relative's safety, and learned too late that trust alone is not protection. I want to speak directly to families because families are the ones who carry the, the fear, the guilt, the unanswered questions, and the long nights waiting for a phone call that may never come. Families are the ones who hand over their loved ones, hoping the system will hold them gently. Families are the ones who live with the consequences when it doesn't. What happened to my family members should never have never happen to anyone else's. When I left her at the hospital, I believed she would be safe. I believed she would be cared for. I believed that I believe the people inside knew how to help her better than I could. But inside that hospital, there were 2 staff members watching 20 people at night. My relatives calls were restricted. Visits were denied. Documentation withheld. She was restrained, face down, unable to breathe. After refusing medication, her roommate was older, stronger, unpredictable, and placed with her anyway. When she told a nurse that she felt unsafe, the nurse hesitated, afraid of retaliation. Families deserve better than this. Family members deserve better than this. What families need and what must change. Real supervision is not excused. Family members or families should never have to wonder if They there are enough adults watching their loved ones. We need minimum staffing ratios, especially at night when people are most vulnerable. Transparency, not silence. No family member should be told their loved one is not available. No family should be denied visits or phone calls without clear external justification. Families need guaranteed communication rights and independent advocates who can check on their family member when they cannot. Safety, not danger. Loved ones should never be placed in rooms with blind corners or unsafe roommates. We need safe architectural design, clear sight lines, and hallway monitoring that protects dignity while preventing harm. Respect, not coercion. Prone restraints are dangerous and traumatizing. Families deserve a system where restraint is monitored, reviewed, and used only when absolutely necessary. And never in ways that threaten family members' life. Honesty, not fear. Staff should be able to speak up when something is wrong. Families need whistleblower protections so the people caring for their loved ones can report concerns without losing their jobs. Accountability, not paperwork. Administrators must be responsible for the culture they create. Families deserve unannounced inspections, public reporting, and consequences when facilities fall or fail to protect the people entrusted to them. Why I'm speaking to families today. I know what it feels like to hand your family member over to a system you hope will help them. I know what it feels like to be told, trust the process. I know what it feels like to learn that the process was never designed to keep your family member safe. But I also know what families can do when we speak together. We can demand staffing that keeps loved ones safe. We can demand transparency that keeps families informed. We can demand oversight that keeps institutions accountable. We can demand a system where abuse is not possible, not because people are perfect, but because protections are strong. To every family listening, you are not alone. Your fear is valid. Your questions are justified. Your advocacy matters. And your voice, your lived experience, is one of the most powerful tools we have to build a safer system for loved ones, for, for every loved one, every elder, every patient who walks through a locked door, and trust us to protect them. Thank you for standing with me. Thank you for standing with each other. And thank you for fighting for the reforms our families deserve. Okay, guys. Now, there's a reason I did that. This one, because whether it is a child, whether it is a youth facility or a psychiatric unit in a hospital or a mental health facility, no one deserves to be harmed in any facility. Um, and when it happens, please let somebody know what is going on in facilities so they could be held accountable and fix them. That is why I did the show today for A. So just as an FYI to people, this is why I did this show. So I hope this one helps some people that are going through this with their family members. Like I said, it happens in child placements in nursing homes, in psychiatric mental hospitals. People don't think people see what goes on, but everybody has the right for care that is safe, that is done right, that that they feel that they don't get harmed in any way. They deserve care. They don't deserve uh, mistreatment in facilities. That's why I've done the show today. So I hope this helped somebody. For now, Gator Wellness. Take care, folks. I'll be back on with B shortly.